Come have a seat in a Skald circle, and hear the tale of the Pied Piper of Hamelin, as told by Casimir. In the year of 1284, a mysterious man appeared in Hamelin. He was wearing a coat of many-colored bright cloth, for which he was called the Pied Piper. He claimed to be a rat-catcher, and he promised that for a certain sum he would rid the city of all mice and rats. The citizens struck a deal, promising him a certain price. The rat-catcher then took a small fife from his pocket and began to blow on it. Rats and mice immediately came from every house and gathered around him. When he thought that he had them all, he led them to the river Weser, where he pulled up his clothes and walked into the water. The animals followed him, fell in, and drowned. Now that the citizens had been freed of their plague, they regretted having promised him so much money, and using all kinds of excuses, they refused to pay him. Finally, he went away, bitter and angry. He returned on June 26th, St. John's and St. Paul's Day, early in the morning at 7 o'clock. Now dressed in a hunter's dress, with a dreadful look on his face and wearing a strange red hat. He sounded his fife in the streets, but this time it wasn't rats and mice that came to him, but rather children, a great number of boys and girls from their 4th year on. Among them was the mayor's grown daughter. The swarm followed him, and he led them into the mountain, where he disappeared with them. All this was seen by a babysitter who, carrying a child in her arms, had followed them from a distance, and had then turned round and carried the news back to the town. The anxious parents ran in droves to the town's gate seeking their children. The mothers cried out and sobbed pitifully. Within the hour, messengers were sent everywhere by water, by land, inquiring if the children, or any of them, had been seen. But it was all for naught. In total, 130 were lost. 2, as some say, had lagged behind and came back. One of them was blind and the other was mute. The blind one was not able to point out the place, but was able to tell how they had followed the piper. The mute one was able to point out the place, although he had heard nothing. One little boy in shirt sleeves had gone along with the others, but he had turned back to fetch his jacket, and thus escaped the tragedy. For when he had returned, the others had already disappeared into a cave within the hill. This cave is still there. Until the middle of the 18th century, and probably still today. The street through which the children were led to the town gate was called the Drumless, Soundless Street, because no dancing or music was allowed there. Indeed, when a bridal procession on its way to the church crossed the street, the musicians would have to stop playing. The mountain near Hamelin where the children disappeared is called Poppenberg. 2 stone monuments in the form of crosses have been erected there, one to the left side and one to the right. Some say the children were led into the cave, and others say they came out in Transylvania. But the children led into the mountain were never seen again in Hamelin. And that is the story of the Pied Piper of Hamelin. Thank you for hearing our tale. If you've enjoyed it, please take a look at our Patreon page and learn how you can earn great rewards while also supporting us. A special thank you to Kat for their support this month. It means the world to us. Once again, thank you for listening to our story.